A friend brought me his Epiphone Sheridan he just got, wanted me to check it out and tell him what I thought. And it's overall a pretty nice guitar, but the strings are not installed properly. This one's got half a wrap, this one's got not even half a wrap, this one's got a lock that doesn't really lock, and the brake angle's over the top, and there is just no behind the nut brake angle on this. And so as a result, when I dig in with a pick, I get banjo sounds, and if I bend a string, the strings slip somewhat horribly. And my friend is a really good guitarist. He's a better player than I am by far, but he's never really paid attention to this end of things. Now granted, on this guitar, it's really difficult to change the strings and maintain tension because it's got one of those split trapeze tailpieces, which are pretty horrible. Let me show you the fix for that. When you put the new string on, grab a capo and just clamp it so the string won't pull out of the trapeze at the other end. You can do all the stuff here. Let me change the low E string and show you the difference, and then I'll change them all out so the guitar will be playable, and then I'll triple check the intonation. Alright, here I've got the new string ball end down in the trapeze. I've got a capo at the 5th fret, so this side of the string doesn't really want to move, and I can do this side. Now, on a through-hole post like this, I don't find on the wound strings that you get any real benefit from doing a fulling locking wrap. I'll show you what I mean on a plain string, but on the wound strings, I find that it's much better not to try to do a full wrap. I find that if I pull it through straight, then bring it back a little bit, in this case about 1.25 frets from the nut, that's about the right distance. Then I'll bend that. It's hard to show this. I didn't have time to clean my bench for a guitar setup. I often do the guitar videos in the kitchen. I didn't grab a winding key either for this one. I'll use it for the rest because I've just got the guitar balanced on my knee. So the first wrap over, second wrap under. Try to do a little right angle to the wound string like that. So it will lock against itself to a degree, and you won't get slippage, and we don't end up with a lot of excess winds. One up, one down, and then it comes to pitch. We may end up with 1.5 down like that. And that's usually quite sufficient. Let me bring it up to pitch real quick, stretch it a bit, and I'll do the others. And then I'll show you what I mean about an actual locking wrap on the unwound strings. Alright, time to do the high E string. And this will be the same way I do all the wound strings. So again, I've got that capo on the 5th fret, keeping the string tight behind the capo so that I can have some slack here and it doesn't fall out of the frequencator split tailpiece. Let me get this position straight so that the string will pass straight through it. And each one of these nuts was completely loose, so I tightened them all with a 10mm socket. I did the first one off camera before, in between. So I bring that straight, and again I pull it back from the nut. On the low E I just go a little bit past the 1st fret. On the subsequent strings I go a little bit back each time. By the time I get up to the high E, I'm kind of going 2 frets. So that's where I want it to be. Now, on this side, I bring it back around this way and pass under itself, which is really hard to do from a distance. It's getting caught on that screw. Sorry, it's much easier to do when it's up close to my eyes and have it farther away for you guys with the camera. So I'm pulling it tight with my left hand, pulling it to the right with my right hand, and then back over itself. And that will create a locking setup where the string is wrapped against itself, and then subsequent lines go beneath all that. I want to have more winds on the E and B and G than on the others, both due to the nature of plain strings versus wound strings, and which strings get bent a lot. Still doesn't end up being a ton of wraps. You see some guitars where the wraps are all up and down the post, but that turns into that was about 2 wraps, 2 full wraps. We're not quite at pitch yet, so it'll go up more than that. And that's enough. You can do more than that if you want. You could have done this back 2.5, even 3 frets, but I find that that works, but that wrap right there on the plain strings is pretty crucial. All right, so a little over 1 full wrap beneath on this one, 2 full wraps beneath on this one, 1 on this because with the split tailpiece and the hollow body, this string could not go back any farther because it would have been on the transition from wound to plain. 2 to 3 winds on each of these plain strings. Each of these plain strings has that wrap, and once I get these stretched and triple check the intonation, this should stay in tune a lot better. It's got much better behind the nut angle without it being too much. And the strings here are locked winding to winding, and here the planes are locked with that loop that I showed you. And this works really well for a Gibson style through-hole tuner 3 on a side headstock setup.